In our last two episodes, one theme kept rising to the surface: the growing talent gap in the insurance industry, and the very real impact it's having on carriers, brokers, and agents alike. So today, we wanted to continue that conversation by bringing in someone who's not just talking about the future of insurance talent, but actively building it. We're joined by Amanda Mattis, director of USLI University. USLI University leads USLI's foundational training program, onboarding every new employee and setting the standard for technical excellence from day one. Beyond that, USLI University delivers free, live, and on-demand education to both customers and employees across insurance, sales, and professional development, helping professionals grow and succeed no matter what stage they're at in their insurance career. Because closing the talent gap doesn't happen by accident. It happens by design. Let's get into it. Amanda, thank you for being here.
Thanks so much for having me, Will. I'm happy to be here.
Of course. In recent Intrend episodes, we've had a recurring theme, and it's the current talent gap that the insurance industry is facing. You are the director of USLI University and a great resource to discuss this, so thanks again for being here. I'd love your thoughts. What is this talent gap and what's happening right now?
Well, I'm not surprised to hear that that's been a recurring theme of the last couple episodes, and having watched them, I did hear that, so I was wondering when we would get to talk about this. There are a few things happening. One is there's a big retirement cliff happening right now. So what's happening is for every two people retiring, we're only attracting maybe one new person into the industry, and that number probably fluctuates, but there is a large percentage of the industry nearing, let's say within 15 years of retiring. So we're looking
Mhm.
at this giant amount of knowledge, right? All this knowledge these people have gathered over the years, and we're hiring people, but we're not transferring that knowledge quickly enough because we're not getting new people in quite fast enough. We're not getting them up and trained and ready to go. Another issue is the way that we are actually recruiting people into the industry. If you look at LinkedIn and you see someone's posting that they got a new position, they probably came from one of their competitors. So we're seeing a lot of just talent moving from one office to another instead of, hey, I'm a new person entering the insurance industry. So because we're not replacing those people that are retiring and we're just moving people around, it's creating this gap.
Sure.
Lastly, one other thing I would add there is just the perception of insurance as an industry. You think about young people, I remember when I was young, tend to be really excited by what's new and exciting. What do I want to get into? And you think about things like AI, and young people probably aren't thinking insurance AI, although we know that AI is becoming a huge part of our industry, cybersecurity, huge part of our industry. So that's where our challenge comes in is how do we change that perception of what it's like to work in the insurance industry to kind of get those young people really excited about being a part of it.
That's a great answer, and there's a lot to unpack there. Thank you. A lot of value. I'd like to start with that ratio you gave. Two leaving the industry for every one that we bring in doesn't sound sustainable,
It's
does it?
not. No, it's not, and it really means that we have to figure out how do we reach people who potentially wouldn't think of insurance as a career, and how do we as the people bringing, um, young people or anyone, I won't even say just young,
Yeah, new
because
talent.
new talent, absolutely, that's a great term because we see a lot of people who are career changers. So maybe someone who was formerly in the military, or even athletes who had a professional or semi professional career and realized that they need to do something until retirement. Insurance is a great place for that because insurance is a people business. And if you have the skills of maybe being on a team, working in a group, being a self starter, being coachable, being able to learn new things. you can find a place in the insurance industry. You don't need a risk management degree. I'm not discounting the value of a risk management degree. I wish that there were more people graduating with them, and I think we'll see that continue to grow. But I think we need to make sure that we're not limiting the people that we're bringing in, but really being open to who we invite into the insurance
That
industry.
new talent we're referencing, I want to dive into that a little bit, but you mentioned something very interesting in the intro as well about people moving laterally, lateral movement, people who are already established in the insurance industry, perhaps going to a competitor or staying in the industry. That isn't filling the talent gap, is it? It's talent staying talented in the industry. So, how do you navigate that? Because that's always going to happen. You know, what does that look like today, and how do we combine that with trying to introduce new talent?
Yeah, you're always going to have that. You're gonna have people who are looking for, a different opportunity for one reason or another, and it's unique to every person. It could be maybe it's a flexibility thing, maybe it's a compensation thing. What we find really helps to maintain retention is a couple of things, and it really depends on the person, but first and foremost, people want to know that they're gonna be trained, and I think there's a historical feeling that companies have where they say, "Well, if I train them really well, they're just gonna leave and they're gonna take that talent elsewhere." And what we find is if you don't train them really well, they're gonna leave and go somewhere where they can get trained. People want to be confident in what they're doing. They want to feel that they have the tools and the skills to be successful. And as employers, that's where we come in. It's our job to give them those tools and get them prepared to be able to be successful. It's the best thing for them, it's the best thing for us, it's the best thing for the industry. Because if we have great insurance professionals, then we're doing the right thing by underwriting well, handling claims well, setting rates well, which ultimately impacts in a positive way every policyholder and every company in the industry.
So what I'm gathering there is investing in human capital right away provides them a path for their own professional career and future, but also assists with an efficient organization.
Absolutely. Yes,
Yeah,
I think investing in new people or investing in people right away from the very beginning. I'll give you just an example. I can speak to what we do at USLI. We have
great.
a couple of things, but when someone begins their career at USLI, they start with an 8-day foundational training program. And there are times where people who might come in that have experience elsewhere aren't sure that 8 days is really necessary, and at the end of that 8 days, we hear nothing but, rave reviews, whether it's learning about our culture, whether it's getting a refresher on some of the fundamentals of insurance, meeting new people, creating a sense of community and culture. That 8 days really sets the stage for them, and what research has shown, just in, things that, I have read, is that if you can get people really trained well early on, it's a lot faster to get them up and running in their jobs, right? In their day-to-day role, because they're not worried about understanding how to do the little things because they spent the time doing that. So it's actually really beneficial to spend the time in the beginning, getting them up and running.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think nobody wants to be put behind a computer screen and told, "Go ahead and figure it out."
No, that might have worked, I don't know, 50 years ago, that might have worked. That doesn't work today. That's the insurance industry has, I don't wanna say it's become complicated, but there are a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of technology in our work. There are a lot of systems and processes and regulations, and you can't just expect someone to sit behind a desk and open a computer and figure out what they're supposed to do. That isn't a way to retain talent, because someone who is talented and motivated wants to learn, but they want to be coached and led and guided.
Right, right. That makes sense, and they want to have a path forward for themselves, and that I think contributes to positive retention. So
Absolutely.
that's one element of it, and we also discussed early on new talent and acquiring new talent. is a big deal.
Mhm.
Where does that start? Walk me through that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on, how your organization goes about acquiring talent,
Yeah.
but I would say the first thing you have to do is really figure out, are you limiting who you're letting in by the story that you're telling or by the way that you're recruiting? So, are you are you limiting yourself because you're afraid of training new talent? Are you afraid that you're not gonna have the time or the resources? So I think companies, I'll say companies, they don't bring in people without insurance experience because they think, "I can't train them. I can't get them up and running. I'm gonna lose too much in that interim." So, one of the things we've done is offer to our customers a program called Fundamentals First. And we offer this program in a couple of different ways. And the goal of Fundamentals First really is to help our customers feel more comfortable bringing someone in that has no insurance experience because we recognize the need to fill this talent gap, and we know that we need to find ways to get more people in. So, Fundamentals First, we have two options. You can come in person to USLI in Wayne, PA for 2 weeks, and we do an intensive training program, both power skills and insurance skills, or we have an online version because we recognize that not everyone can come in here for 2 weeks. But finding those opportunities, whether it's fundamentals first, whether it's testing from the institutes, other training offered by insurance carriers, finding those opportunities to really allow you to bring in someone who doesn't have a background in insurance and learn the business so that we can continue to fill that gap.
That makes sense. That's a barrier to entry, right? The time that it takes to bring someone who might be green in and get them up and running.
Absolutely.
Maybe they had a history with education or they majored in English in school and the concept of insurance would be new. You have to devote time and energy and money to get that person up and running. I think it's impossible to ignore that, a recent opportunity that could potentially fill this gap is technology,
Mhm.
right? So if we could discuss just briefly the difference between technological opportunities versus human capital and how important it is to have people trained.
Yeah, there's a place and a role for technology, whether it's AI or other types of technology in the insurance industry. And I think we have to look very carefully at what role those technologies are playing. If the role is to make a process more efficient or to eliminate human error, I think that's a positive impact of technology. But what technology can't do is replace the personal connection. And you and I both know insurance is a people business, right? When
Right.
we talk about what we do, we are protecting people's peace of mind. We're protecting their livelihoods, we're protecting their businesses. And on the day when you call your insurance company or your insurance agent, it's usually something has happened, right? Maybe there's been a loss of some sort, and you don't want to interact with a piece of technology. You want to interact with a human. And that's where we need to make sure that we are not only helping people utilize technology to be more efficient in their day to day tasks, but also give them the time and the energy to spend with their customers, with the policyholders, making sure that we're humanizing the business.
Yeah, a balance of the two is going to be important. You take advantage of certain efficiencies, but you're right. I couldn't agree more. For most people, if they have to interact with their insurance carrier, it's usually not something great,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a claim or not the most fun conversation, I would say. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a really good
And
point.
it's important that we make those experiences positive for the claimant, for the policyholder, and being able to show empathy, being able to be a great listener, ask good questions. Those are all skills that humans can do. I don't know that I'm not an expert on AI, but I'm going to guess at this point right now it's not really good at showing empathy, and I think empathy is probably one of the most important skills we need in this business.
I agree. I was trying to reschedule a flight recently, and I was chatting with a airport bot, and was not thrilled. That was not the most fun conversation I had.
It
So
wasn't showing you how sorry it was that you had to reschedule your flight.
no, it showed no empathy at all, actually. So I thank you. This is really valuable information. And I wanted to address, we have this opportunity to bring people into the industry. I think you did a great job of covering the types of people that would make a good fit for the insurance industry. What might be contributing to that poor ratio right now, or that 2 to 1? Is it a lack of interest in the industry? Are carriers and organizations missing an opportunity somewhere? What might be driving that number?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes I think we talked a little bit about this, but I think it's just ins insurance is one of the oldest industries probably in the world, right? It's been around longer than the United States has been around. So, how do we make sure that the insurance industry is still seen as exciting? So, every time the world evolves, the world changes, something new happens, not everyone realizes this, but insurance also has to evolve, insurance has to change. Our world is completely impacted by everything else happening, whether it's coming up with new coverages, whether it's identifying ways to insure things that didn't exist 5 or 10 years ago. I think there's a perception that insurance is the same thing year after year, and so it's up to us to make sure that we're telling the story, reaching the people who might not have exposure to the insurance industry. One of the programs we have at USLI, we've had for years, is our college health program. And we bring college students from all over the country into our offices. Recently, we expanded that into high schools in Philadelphia. And our goal with that is really to introduce students who maybe would never think of insurance as a career path, but get them exposure to our offices, exposure to our culture, doing things that they might not even realize insurance professionals take part in.
Maybe for a long time, a missed opportunity was exposing folks to insurance at an early age like that.
Mm.
So you're telling me that's evolved into a student program, including high school
Yeah.
students, to introduce them to insurance earlier.
Yeah.
How important might that be in involving them into that new talent group? Are you finding success with it?
Yeah. I definitely think with our college program, absolutely. We are seeing, I don't know the exact numbers, but we hire a large percentage of students who come through our college program. With the high school students, it's only 2 years, 3 years in maybe, so we haven't seen the hiring rate from that yet, but we definitely have seen a greater interest in the program. In our first year, maybe we had 10 students, and I think this year we're looking to have 25 high school students. So we can see the interest in that program growing year over year.
That's great. I do think one thing with insurance that might not be addressed enough is the sheer number of options somebody would have as they enter the industry. I think people may overlook the fact that there is underwriting, there's claims, there's sales and marketing, there's accounting, leadership opportunities throughout. Talk to me about finding this new talent and then helping people find where they might be a best contributor or what might be a best fit for them.
That's a really great question. I think it's something that we have been trying to answer for a long time is how do we get people in the door but not make them see that or not make them feel that success is this linear path, right? So success might zigzag. What that growth looks like for you might not be climbing a mountain, but it might be, switchbacking up it. So I'll give my own story as an example. I entered the insurance industry 20 years ago. I did not have a degree in risk management. I have a degree in public relations. Never expected to end up working in insurance. I'm very grateful that I found USLI and this industry. I spent 10 years in underwriting and really thought that was my pathway. But I always sort of had a interest in and I think a little bit of a knack for teaching. And so got the opportunity to join USLI University and have, been on that team for 10 years. And I think that people, if given the chance to do different things, not be siloed into, well, this is my team and this is what I do, but really offering opportunities to try different things. So, for example, at USLI, we have an apprenticeship program, and it can be 6 months, it can be 1 year, and you can not be nominated or nominate yourself to work within another team to really understand what happens in that team. What do they do over there? I think I know, but I'm not really sure. And it might be an opportunity for you to potentially transfer into that team
Yeah.
at, with a position. We also offer a leadership outreach program so that people can spend time with leaders from around the company and talk about anything that they're curious about. It gives them exposure to things that they might not think they're interested in, but they might find that their skills actually really align with.
That makes a lot of sense. I think it aligns perfectly with what we're trying to discuss here, and it is filling that gap where potentially down the road there could be issues. So, do organizations currently try to predict where there may be a specific gap, right? As this retirement cliff is on its way, there are going to be threats there. So, how does that work? Are organizations predicting what they need to fill down the road and how they're going to do it?
I think they see the gap, right? So they can look at the demographics of their workforce and say, where are people? Where are they in the realm of retirement? And are we hiring people to backfill that far enough? Whether or not they're
Right.
predicting it to the correct extent, I mean, that's hard to say. But I do think there is an awareness of the fact that we're not growing as quickly as we're potentially needing to make sure that we can sustain the growth of the industry.
Yeah, that makes sense. Operational efficiency and trying to make sure you're delivering on the things that you have been for years. You need the human capital to be able to do it.
Yeah, and, AI and technology is helping with that, helping us to do things faster, more efficiently, but as, you and I have talked about, AI isn't the only tool. We do need humans to do to connect with the people as well.
Yeah, we've covered that. That's another recurring theme on our episodes is just how important human interaction is throughout.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. Thank you for this information. It's so valuable. I would be curious if you had some parting wisdom or maybe a big major takeaway for our listeners given this conversation here.
I have to narrow it down to 1, right?
You could answer with a few.
Um, if I had I'd like to sort of break it up into who maybe is listening. And
Cool.
I would say for people just entering the insurance industry, don't be afraid to try something new, to learn something different. Take every opportunity you can to prepare for the things that you don't even know you're preparing for. Whether it's taking a test, whether it's getting FaceTime with a leader in your company, whether it's getting to shadow another team, whatever that preparation looks like, take advantage of it. You don't know when you're going to need it. For the people in our industry that are bringing in new talent, I would say don't discount anyone. Cast a wide net when it comes to how are we identifying the next generation of insurance professionals. Insurance is not going anywhere. It's probably going to continue to grow. And we want to make sure we've spent a lot of time developing this industry, and we want to make sure that it's healthy and vibrant for years to come. So let's really try to get people in, get them trained, and help them make our industry even better.
Thank you. I think that's really great for listeners, like you said, who are in the industry, organizations that are looking to fill some of this talent gap, but also for people who are listening who may have interest in entering the industry. I think that's really good. Amanda, thank you for being here again today. I'm excited to hopefully talk to you again. Uh, for our folks listening, please be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on InTrend.